Welcome back to our thrifty and frugal corner of Brittany here in northwest France. I asked the question, what do you want to see on the channel? I gave some options. The most popular was thrifty food tutorials. Here today is a thrifty food tutorial of how to make absolutely delicious veggie paella. Okay, so before I show you how to make my veggie paella, there's something I want you to do. I want you to hit that subscribe button and make sure at the end of this that you give it a thumbs up, and also don't forget to comment. I always reply. Okay, I'm going to start with vegetables and the vegetables that I have. I have one courgette, also known as a zucchini, one carrot, one red pepper, also known as one red bell pepper, 10 mushrooms, a handful of peas, a handful of beans, and a medium onion chopped up. I also have garlic. Now, when it comes to vegetables and thrifty food and cooking, I want you to get to think of, basically, a paella is rice stock and that kind of Spanish flavouring to it. But I want you to get into your feeling that you can use any vegetables. If you've got a tin of mixed vegetables, use a tin of mixed vegetables. If you've got a bag of frozen mixed vegetables, use it. If you've got winter vegetables, use that. If all of you've got are some frozen veg and onion, use that instead. I'm now going to talk garlic. It needs quite a bit of garlic. You can use fresh garlic. I use jars of garlic. If you haven't got that, you could use garlic powder. You don't have that, you could use garlic granules. So think about the different ways, but it's basically rice with stock and plenty of garlic. But if you don't have one, you can use another. Okay, let's talk stock. Of course, it would be perfect if you cooked up your vegetables and kept the water and had stock. But let's face it, we live in the real world. I always just use a stock cube and water. I think it gives really good results. In your veggie paella, it would be good to get some protein in there. You can obviously use, I would say, any beans, kidney beans, white beans, haricot blanc white beans, or of course you could just use, as I am going to do today, a tin of beans. And I would say use any beans. You could use garbanzo beans, which is known as chickpeas, but any beans in this will do. Let's talk about now what makes a paella, and it's the flavour of Spain. It's paprika. The best ones to use is obviously smoked paprika, but if you haven't got that, any paprika will do. And most supermarkets will sell some kind of paprika mix that's all in, that's got garlic powder, just about everything in there. You can buy these in the UK, you can buy them here in France. I wouldn't be surprised if they're not for sale just about anywhere. Okay, in my recipe I've got just under half a cup of olive oil. You might think, well, that sounds a lot, but it really gives it the taste. Now, if you don't have olive oil and you have any oil, just use any oil. Sunflower oil is just as good. You don't have sunflower oil, you've got dripping, which is the meat, the fat that you've collected from cooking meat, or you've got lard. You basically need some kind of fat to fry it in. Now, to make paella, you need round rice. It's the short rice here, sometimes called arborio rice, used for making risotto. If you don't have that, I absolutely promise you, you can make paella from any rice you like. Brown rice, white rice, cheapest rice, valley rice, any rice. But you're going to need a cupful. In UK measurements, that's 225 grams. Now you need some kind of tomatoes to go in there. Now you're either going to take a tin of tomatoes and I would say you mush it up with anything you like. I would put it in a blender, or you could buy a jar of passata, or if you've got a jar of pasta sauce, use a jar of pasta sauce. But anything tomato based is what you need to go in a paella.
Right, let's talk pots and pans. Now lots of people think, well, if I'm cooking a stir fry, I need a wok. Oh, I'm cooking a casserole, I need a special dish. I'm frying chips, I need some special kind of fryer. I'm making paella. I'm going to show you what I use for all of those. The same pot. I use this pot for everything. It goes on top of the stove, it goes in the oven. It's practically the only pot I've got. So what do you need to make paella? Well, a paella pan would be perfect, but if you haven't got a paella pan, and I haven't,
you need a saucepan of some sort. Okay, first thing I need to do is heat my oil. So the next thing I'm going to do, I've got my oil is hot, I've got my pepper, my carrot, my courgette, my mushrooms and my onions, and they're going to go in. And I'll cook those for about 10 minutes. So after a few minutes, you want to add 4 crushed cloves of garlic, or in my case, a lot more than that, because we really do like garlic. So you're going to put it in now because you don't want to burn it. When you've reached the stage that you've sautéed your vegetables for a while, that's when you're going to add all of your spices. I have smoked paprika and a packet mix here. We like it quite spicy. And stir it round. Coat all the vegetables well. Next, add the stock. Next, add about a cupful of tomato puree. So in my case, I'm going to use half a jar of pasta sauce. There we go. After a few minutes, I'm going to add my frozen beans and peas. Finally, I'm going to add my rice. Once I've added the rice, I will give it a stir, but I won't keep stirring it all the way through. I'll just give it a good stir now. I'm going to let it come up to the boil, and I'm going to turn it down low, and I'm going to leave it for 10 minutes before I check it again. Now another hint I've got for you here. If you just want to double this recipe, you don't have to use double the vegetables. What all you have to do is double the amount of stock and double the amount of rice. Both of those are cheap. Both of those will stretch this to twice the size of the meal. As you're cooking this, take a clean spoon, take a bit of the rice out, bite on it. You'll test it yourself to see if it's cooking. If it's starting to absorb everything, all I'm going to add now is I'm going to add here just about half a cup of water, so about 120 mils of water. As I'm approaching the end of the cooking time, I've probably got about 5 minutes more cooking to go. I'm going to add in my tin of beans. Remember what I said? You can use any beans for this. I'd even go so far to say, if you're short of beans, stick in a tin of baked beans. Any beans would do. It's just the protein that you want. So the question is now, how do you know when it is cooked? You're going to take the rice, you're going to pinch a bit out, don't burn yourself please, eat it to see if it's cooked the way you like it. Also, it will have absorbed almost all of the liquid. Now traditionally, you would turn up the high heat now and let it crisp along the bottom. We don't like that. But there's one thing you do at the end with paella, because it's far too hot to eat now, is you put a lid on it. You put a lid on it and you're going to leave it for at least 5 minutes to let the rice finish absorbing all that delicious flavour. So finally, here we are, finished paella. Certainly got your 5 a day in here. Here we go, I'd say 2 scoopfuls. Usually this is served with chunks of lemon and squeeze your lemon over it. We don't have any chunks of lemon, so we just sprinkle some lemon juice on top of our vegetable paella. Well, thank you very much for dropping by. Hope you enjoyed the thrifty paella recipe with lots of hints and tips of what to use in case you haven't got the whole load of ingredients. Now, don't forget to subscribe because there's going to be plenty more thrifty food tutorials where that came from. Make sure you leave a comment. Now, what I'd like to know is what thrifty recipe would you like me to cook? I will be very much guided by you, but leave a comment. I do love to hear from you. Give it a thumbs up because that really helps as well. So thank you very, very much for watching and dropping by to our little thrifty and frugal corner of Brittany here in northwest France. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.